Sharp-tongued, left-leaning Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank made quite an impression in his 22 years in the House, not least of which for being openly gay. He's retiring next month, but before leaving town, he sat down with congressional reporter Ed O'Keefe for another in our series of exit interviews.
Of course, you were the first openly gay lawmaker and the first to get married.
The second openly gay lawmaker, the first to acknowledge it voluntarily.
You actually wanted to come out publicly during your 1980 campaign and were advised not to.
There was no way I could have been out and won. As it was, I almost lost on the suspicion,
right,
among other things. So it was the decision to run for Congress that made me put it back. Once
you got here, who was the first House colleague you told?
Mike Sinar, the late Mike Sinar, a great guy. We were sitting around, I don't know, and he asked me, somebody, you got a girlfriend? I said, no. You gay? You know, yeah. And it was sort of casual. And then I told Tom Carper, now Senator Carper, in 1982, around New Year's, we went on a trip to Israel and Egypt. We spent New Year's Eve in Egypt. And Tom, who was then not married, had met this flight attendant, and they were going to have dinner together, and she had a friend, and so he asked me if I would be with the friend, and I said okay, but it was clear that I was not nearly as interested as he was. So he asked me the next morning why I was not more forthcoming with the friend, and I told him.
And I read also that your old mentor, Tip O'Neill, had an interesting response when you told him.
It was the summer of '86. A former member named Bob Bauman, who was one of those who had been implicated in a set of events which made clear that he was gay. He first denied it, and he's now since acknowledged it. Bauman wrote a book in which he mentioned that I was gay, which was really kind of a violation of the general protocols. He'd been out of Congress for a few years by then. And he didn't say it explicitly, but it was pretty clear. And I thought this might break, so I did go to Tip O'Neill and tell him that. And his response at first was, "Hey, don't worry about it, pal. They spread those rumors about a lot of people." And I said, "Well, in this case, it's true." So he did say, "Oh, I'm really sad. I thought you might be the first Jewish speaker." And he then went back and told his press secretary, Chris Matthews, that we better get ready to deal with the press because they tell me that Barney Frank might be coming out of the room. And he said, "What are you talking about?" And then he explained it to him.
Instead of coming out of the closet. Have you ever had to counsel any colleagues about the process of coming out publicly?
Yeah, not in Congress. I did talk to, I've talked to a couple of state legislators.
And what's the advice you give them?
Do it if you're at that stage, because your ability to live as an integrated human personality is more important than anything. That the sacrifice you make from being in the closet and the denial of your personal life, it's a mistake. My advice is, do it if you feel that strongly, forgetting about the political consequences. Once you do, then your job is, once you're out, if there are people who are deeply prejudiced against you because of who you are, forget them. You can't waste your time on them. The one thing you can affect, and I've told this to gay candidates as well, make it clear to people that this is not all you're caring about. So it's to not allow yourselves to be pigeonholed as a one-issue candidate.
Congressman Barney Frank, we thank you for taking the time, and we thank you for your service. Congratulations. Enjoy retirement.
Thank you.